This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Oh yeah, another new alpha build. You ready to dive in, Tally?
No, Evie. No, I don't think I'll be doing alpha this week. You go ahead. Enjoy yourself.
Wait, what do you mean? You love alpha because having it makes you feel important and superior, which are two of your favorite emotions.
I know, it's true, but I just don't feel like it this week, Evie. And what's really important is that you understand it has nothing to do with all the spiders, okay? Don't write on the internet that I didn't play alpha because of all the spiders, because it's got nothing to do with them. And actually, I felt like I just didn't want to play alpha this week before I even saw any spiders.
Oh. Okay. Hey, did you know we can just get rid of the spiders?
No way, really?
Yeah, we can use the new arachnophobia filter.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing! Thank Metzen, I can finally play the alpha again! I mean, it turns out that thing I was going to do, I don't need to do it anymore, so I can play alpha with you! And I think the first thing we should test for science is the spider filter.
Sure. There we go. No more spiders.
Wait. It turns them into crabs? Crabs are the only thing in the world I fear more than spiders.
Really?
Evie, they're everything scary about spiders except with armor and huge jabby claws, and they walk sideways. Like, who walks sideways? They're just all types of wrong. No, if it's all crabs now, I'm done with this game, seriously.
Okay, well, I did foresee this eventuality, which is why I pulled some strings and got a special tally filter put in the game too. What do you think?
I think this is the best expansion ever, and it's time to play some alpha!
Knowledge is power.
Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and welcome to another episode of the Weekly Reset, Taliesin and Evitel's Wondrous Wisdomshow. In a week where we are talking all the latest War Within alpha news from that last build, and look forward to the next one. Obviously, a week where Season 4 is now well underway, and is it just me, or is it way better than I thought it was going to be? Like, when they told me the dungeon list was going to be all 8 Dragonflight dungeons again, I was like, oh, the Dragonflight dungeons. But I've been playing it all week, and now I'm like, oh yeah, I love the Dragonflight dungeons. It just feels like a nice and fitting way to end the expansion, having them all together for the first time. They're actually way more fun than I remember, and it's great. Am I the only one feeling that? I probably am. Forget I said anything. It could be just because right now I am very excited about the War Within. I am incredibly ready for the War Within, but I'm also feeling just very nostalgic for Dragonflight. Working on my meta achievement, I've been doing all the storms and treasures and, well, daycare and fishing stuff in all the leveling zones with the music, and it's just made me really appreciate how much I've liked this expansion and the Dragon Isles as a zone. Except, of course, Grimtusk and his never-appearing fishing hole. Grimtusk needs to turn up for work every once in a while, you know? Grimtusk is a little jerk. And Dragonflight is almost over. In just a week, on the 7th of May for NA and the 8th for EU, Darkheart patch 10.2.7 releases. A week after that, on the 16th, Miss of Pandaria Remix goes live with a global release, and that's it. That's your lot. Dragonflight is then officially an expansion. Of course, Darkheart brings with it the Dranei and Troll Heritage Armor questlines, which Blizz have kept under wraps. Thank you for that. The Darkheart quests themselves introducing Xal'atath back into the fray, which Blizz has mostly kept under wraps. Thanks mostly for that. And where I am convinced we are getting a new cinematic to get our teeth into. The one we've already seen clips of in the War Within features trailer of Alleria in her current nice green clothes, which raises one of the biggest questions of this particular quest line. Will she get her new shiny StarCraft look now, or will we have to wait for the opening quests of the new expansion for that? There's some other bits and bobs in the patch too, like some new quests around Belameth and Emberthor's Visage Day, which is kind of like a Dragonflight nostalgia tour, so right up my alley then, and sends you around the Dragon Isles chatting to various characters about identity and what it means to them. It's really good. You're gonna like it. Panda Remix we know all about already. We spent the whole of last episode of this show talking about it, and it's brilliant. What is very interesting though is the release date that Blizz gave it does turn out to match exactly with the start date for the event that was on the War Within alpha calendar. And if the start date on that in-game calendar was correct, it's kind of reasonable to assume the end date will be correct too. And that's interesting because Pandemonium is the content drought content. Even more so than Season 4, it's designed to keep us busy until War Within is ready to go. And as as such, it's probably going to end like a week before pre-patch. And the end of Pandaria Remix on the alpha calendar is the 19th of August, which is a solid 3 months of Panda fun times. I think most people are going to be well and truly done with it at that point, but it does mean that a reasonable estimate for the pre-patch is the 26th of August and the launch of the War Within any time in September. Assuming it's finished, of course. I think it's fair to say that so far the War Within alpha is nowhere near as complete as the Dragonflight one was when it went live. Last week's zone, the Isle of Dawn, is beautiful, but pretty much entirely unpopulated. The campaign questline that introduces you to the city and moves you on to the next zone is incredibly short and kind of underwhelming. There are some cool little lore tidbits scattered around the place, like, oh yeah, we're going to be talking Bluebot Spoilers for all of this bit, really. It's alpha, there's not much we can do, sorry. But don't forget, all of our spoiler sections are marked, and you can skip them easily by clicking on the chapters in the description or the play bar of this video. But yeah, the implication that the Watchers got really annoyed with the Earthen at one point and threatened to turn them all off if they didn't sort out their shit, and a very strong suggestion that they then did try and self-destruct the entire island at some point, but someone or something stopped them at the last minute. In fairness, the reason Dragonflight's alpha was so complete when we first saw it was because it released in mid-July back in 2022, so it had to be. The low-key state of Dawn at the moment is kind of be expected at this stage, and this week we got to play around with a new Earthen allied race in the second zone of the campaign story, the Ringing Depths, which I guess you'd call the mining zone. It's probably the zone more than any other, which is what you'd have pictured when you heard that this expansion was going to be set underground. It's got minecarts and tracks and kobolds, and the kobolds your girlfriend tells you not to worry about, and dungeons full of kobolds and minecarts, and also dells full of kobolds and minecarts, and also absolute tons of genuine, honest-to-goodness, actual real-life kobold lore, which only took 20 years. Nice one, Blizz. But it's also got deadly mushrooms, which are deadly not because they're poisonous, but because they will try to eat you, and earthen machine speakers, one of whom has a cool Dr. Octopus-style getup, which I absolutely approve of, and also desperately need for my own character. So, you know, hopefully she'll be a raid boss at some point so I can loot it off her. And goblins. A whole area of the map which the goblins have taken over and are working in, doing goblin-y things that might be significant because of a Redbot spoiler that has been doing the rounds. But I know you hate spoilers, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. You want another Redbot spoiler, don't you?
Hello everyone! Things are afoot. Stuff is on the horizon. Bits are brewing. You know what I mean. It's an exciting time to be a WoW player, and thankfully Squarespace is here to keep us grounded, to offer us a foothold on an unchanging little corner of the internet. Thanks for sponsoring this video, guys. Now, thankfully Squarespace has a litany of old, reliable favorites. Features you can count on to keep your website snazzy and functional. The page editor, for one, which is as easy and point and click as can be. And of course, the editor now runs on the Fluid engine, which means you can drag and drop anything literally anywhere on the page, but it will still snap to a tidy little grid. God, I love a tidy little grid. Now, should you want to have a little taste of change, Squarespace makes that super easy too. With site styles, you can change your whole look with the click of a button, and that goes for all text, all over your site. No more individually changing each text block. Instant vibe change. I love it. And then we have what I believe is the unsung hero of Squarespace, the undo button. Oh my goodness, how many times have I gotten a little out of hand, or just, let's be honest, completely fallen down the hole and changed the complete look and feel of our website? I mean, a total 180. Thankfully, the undo button has saved my booty on more than one occasion. Phew. Are you feeling yourself getting carried away? Then ride that wave and head to squarespace.com/Taliesin Evitel or use code Taliesin Evitel, where you can get 10% off your first website or domain. Go wild! Go absolutely bananas! Because you can always count on Squarespace to be there in the end. That's squarespace.com/Taliesin Evitel.
Okay, fine. Well, Redbot spoiler for a moment, because there have been a couple of icon names data-mined for items that definitely appear to give away a tantalizing detail about a future patch of War Within, presumably 11.1, and the icons are labeled Goblin Raid, which, seeing as we are underground and everything, definitely looks like we are heading to the Undermine in the first major patch of this expansion. Although I've still got my hopium hopes very much on the Airship 11.1 in the Sky patch that basically just looks like this Hearthstone key art. And yo, goblins can do airships, right? I just want this, please, but for an entire major WoW patch, thanks. The zone itself kind of looks and feels a bit like Zaralek Caverns, doesn't it, really? I mean, I think it's more interesting than Zaralek Caverns, but you know, it's a big cave with a roof. It's kind of dark. There's like a fiery bit and a glimmering crystal bit. It's a cave, you know? It's pretty standard. One of the things that sets it apart from Zaralek is the presence of the Earthen. This is very much their cave. It's where they work and survive, and I have to say, I kind of like the Earthen. I admit, when they were first announced as an allied race, my excitement level for them was not high. In fact, it was basically subterranean, like an underground cave. But I've definitely warmed up to them playing the first two zones so far. Their culture and history is interesting, and there are definitely shades of the Drakthir in there as well, in the sense that they were made for a purpose, and they are kind of coming to terms with how maybe they don't really want to do that purpose anymore. But whereas Drakthir were all about wide-eyed wonder and getting to know the world anew, the Earthen are very much entrenched in Khazar-Gar. This is their turf and their society, their well-oiled machine that we get to experience and join in with. And I personally think that fantasy video games generally are at their most interesting when you meet a new functioning culture and get to see how it works and interact with it. Give me a thriving, bustling city over old ruins any day. It's one of the reasons I love Pandaria so much. It's one of the reasons everyone loves Suramar so much. And these two zones definitely have moments of that so far. Plus, obviously, I'm just never not going to love female dwarves with beards. All female dwarves should have beards as standard. So far, these are the only ones that do. So far, these are the winners. There are 2 new dungeons in this zone too, and testing dungeons on alpha is always really weird. It's normal mode, so I can't really tell you if they are interesting from a mechanics or gameplay point of view, really. All I can really do is tell you what they look like and offer any other interesting observations that I may have. And the aesthetics of Stonevault and Darkflame Cleft are very similar. I mean, not identical, right? But they are both dark underground cave/mines/vaults with a vaguely dwarven/titan feel. I've swapped between these 2 different dungeons on the screen while I've been talking 4 times. Could you really tell when I did, or did you think it was all the same dungeon? They do feel quite different to play, though. Stonevault is a huge, sprawling mess of a place with multiple routes through and lots of jumping into teleportation minecarts at the end of each wing to get you back to the center again. It's full of big machines and automations as we hunt down one of the Earthen speakers who has been embracing the void to get things done. So just like all the dungeons we've tried so far, these 2 have a lot of swirly purple shit going on by the end. Honestly, bit awkward when I'm on my Shadow Priest using my awesome new Void Weaver swirly thing every pull, but also pretty cool. The Darkflame Cleft does this particularly well, seeing as it is the official Kobold dungeon, and as such is big on darkness and the occasional candle flames that fight against it. I got a feeling you're going to hear quite a lot about Darkflame Cleft because it's a brilliant dungeon. I really like it, but people are going to hate it. Oh man, they are going to hate it so much. It starts off innocently enough. There's a fight against a big kobold in the middle of a 4-way minecart junction. And I think the idea here is that there's like a risk-reward thing going on because you want to fight him on the tracks and risk getting hit by the minecarts that come crashing through, because those minecarts will also take out some of the multitudes of kobold ads that spawn throughout. Good, hectic fun. Then you fight a huge candle dude. That's fine too, although I can't tell you what the mechanics are, even though I've done the fight a few times now, because like I say, normal difficulty on the alpha. But there's a bit where you will explode, there's a bit where it goes dark. It's potentially interesting. Likewise, the Candle King, who spawns wax statue versions of the members of your group throughout the fight, but I don't know why. The Dungeon Journal suggests that they do fire damage while they're up, but I can't say I noticed any of that. But this is all fine. This is not the reason everyone will hate Darkflame Cleft. No, the reason everyone will hate Darkflame Cleft is the minecart section. Let me ask you, Internet, what's your favorite type of quest in WoW? No, the other favorite type. No, try again. Okay, but if none of those existed, what would be your favorite type of quest? Okay, look, around 20% of this entire dungeon is an escort quest, as you have to follow a minecart through a pitch black section of the dungeon, being careful to stay within its candle's light or suffer a 99% damage and healing debuff. Enemy attacks along the path dim the light and slow the cart down, and I really enjoyed it. I think you probably will too, until you're doing it multiple times a week in Mythic Plus. And I want to make it really clear, okay? I very much like this bit of the dungeon. I think it's really cool and unique, but I've also played this game for a long time. I follow the community online. I'm not an idiot. People are going to shit blood about this minecart section. And look, I say it's 20% of the dungeon. It's 20% of the dungeon when you're shit at it, which every group I've been in has been, because we don't know what we're doing. And let's be honest, the alpha is disproportionately made up of streamers right now who, as we all know, are trash at the game. And surely the point is that in reality, the cart won't be coming to a dead halt every 20 yards or so. And actually, the minecart bit will be kind of easy, kind of efficient. My favorite bit of the dungeon is once you reach the end of the escort quest, obviously, and all hop into the minecart as it now zooms along quickly by itself. And I was like, oh man, thank goodness that's over. But then someone in my group shouted, behind, and we all turned round to realize we were getting chased by the darkness, galloping up to us like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park as we desperately threw stuff at it to slow it down. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, that looks cool. But you're also thinking, hang on, Tally, are you telling me there's a full scripted section of this dungeon straight after the escort quest? People's least two favorite things to have in Mythic Plus right next to each other in one dungeon. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you, yeah. I don't really know how failable this running away from the darkness bit is, but at least the first time it was very exciting and funny. And the darkness is the last boss of the dungeon too, employing the same annoying 99% debuff darkness mechanic that the minecart does. As one of your party, it's gonna be the healer, isn't it? Has to keep picking up the only candle and moving it away from the AoE attacks, but also making sure that it's always sitting in melee range of the boss. It's tricksy, but I like how Darkflame Cleft is easily the most memorable of the dungeons so far because of all those unique mechanics and moments. It's probably my favorite of the dungeons we've tried out at this point. Of course, all this ringing depths testing has been a bit of a strange one because everyone's got one eye on the next build where we are expecting finally to get into Hallowfall, the zone that probably has the most player hype and potential awesome lore surrounding it. The entrance to that zone is actually right there next to the way you get into the ringing depths. That shining crystal in the ceiling, tantalizingly visible, and the airships drifting slowly in the distance before you will get ported out. Yes, airships. I just want this, okay, Blizz? Hopefully we'll have lots to tell you about that next episode. But before we finish, here's Evie with a quick roundup of some of our favourite bits and bobs from the alpha this week.
Huge warband news! Sitting down! A weekend update sees a little more dynamism hitting your warband camp character select screen, as instead of just standing there, one or more of your characters maybe will now sometimes sit down. Incredible technology! Okay, so it's still nowhere near the levels and interesting business that the BlizzCon concept of this screen suggested, but it's progress. As soon as we nail the sitting on a box tech and dare we even dream the warming yourself by the fire tech, this shit is going to look baller. Some really interesting new ring enchants have turned up in the data this week. The cursed enchants allow you to sacrifice a huge amount of one secondary stat in return for an even bigger chunk of another. So, for example, the enchantment of Cursed Haste gives you minus 1020 versatility in return for granting 1360 haste. The enchantment of Cursed Mastery saps 1020 of your critical strike for 1360 mastery. This is basically reforging an enchantment form, but only for rings, and as such, very cool. Good news for enchanting crafters and good news for alchemy crafters, as weapon oils look to be making a comeback in War Within, granting straight haste and crit buffs, healing, and additional shadow damage. I know the amount of consumable buffs players are expected to keep track of seems to be getting longer all the time, but as an alchemist, I'm honestly just happy that I get another reason to be useful for the— oh, no. Sorry, the oils are another enchanting craft. Because, yeah, obviously an oil you put on your weapon isn't going to be alchemy. Let's look at some models. We got a ton of new Nerubian raid weapons in the latest build, all as voidy and shadowy as you might expect, just like the incredible other raid gear we saw last week. I especially love the voidy swords, and I love how much of the, what I still call the Legion glow, is going on with these models. Plus, and I know this is silly, but all the icons are just so pleasingly purple. It really makes me wonder if War Within is going to keep pushing the void aesthetic so hard in future patches, what with Midnight being supposedly incredibly void-centric too. In the meantime, here's a big void monster mount. Thought you'd like that. As always, we're going to be linking loads of Wowhead articles in the description, linking to stuff we've talked about today and other things we think you might find interesting. And thank you for joining us today. If you liked this video, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual real-life money to make all our work happen. And guys, thank you, because without you, there would be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evitel. There is a sponsorship and ad-free version of this video up on there for you to enjoy, which probably went up a bit early too. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. And remember, my name is Grimtusk. No, my name is Evitel. From me and Tally. Until next time, bye!